Hear from members of the public, excuse me, who have registered to speak. We may also have questions for them. Finally, the applicant, who has the burden of proof, will have an opportunity to make final comments and reply. Please address your comments to me as the chair, starting with your name and spelling it if necessary, and your municipal address for the record. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, pardon me, which means it won't be delivered today. In either case, and within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all parties, applicants, and anyone else who has requested a copy. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure we'll be following? No questions? So we have several applications to hear today, but we first need to deal with some preliminary procedural matters. Are there any declarations of interest by this panel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to declare a deemed indirect conflict of interest on item 2.
And I'd like to also claim an indirect conflict of interest on item number 2. Pardon me. So now we have to deal with adjournment requests. So we have a couple of, pardon me?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
There are minutes to adopt.
that's right. Okay. My apologies. Yes, we have minutes of January 13, February 3rd, and February 17. All those in favor of approving minutes of January 13, please raise your hands. Those minutes are approved. February 3rd, are we approving those minutes? Yes, those minutes are approved. And February 17, are we approving those minutes? Yes, we are approving those minutes too. Great. So, pardon me. Next, we have adjournment requests. We have today 3 adjournment requests, beginning first with item number 9, having to do with 1991 Queensdale. Queensdale. I'm not sure who was on one or the other. Okay. 1991 Kingsdale. I'm looking for Mr. Segreto.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon, Mr. Segreto. Are you in agreement with this adjournment request?
Yes, I'm requesting the adjournment so I can spend some time addressing some of the concerns that the planner has and some of the concerns that the neighbors have. I need a couple of weeks.
Okay. So are you in agreement with adjourning this application to April 21, 2026?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. I'd like to ask the panel if they're in favor. Well, maybe I should just ask planning if they're interested in allowing this application to be adjourned. Ms. King?
No concerns from us if the applicant wants an adjournment.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that has any concerns about this application being adjourned to the 21st of April? Anyone online? No. So I'd like to ask the panel then if they would like to adjourn this application to April 21. All those in favor, raise your hands. Yep. So your application is going to be adjourned until the 21st of April, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so. Okay, our next, excuse me, our next application requesting an adjournment is item number 10, 1435, 1451 Belcourt. And I'm looking for Gabby Amos.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I am not Gabby Amos. I am Scott Alain. I'm another planner at FOTEN. Here on Gabby's behalf, I've been working through the application alongside her.
Okay, are you in agreement with the application being adjourned, sine die, sir?
I'm in agreement with the application being adjourned. We had received indication from both the Conservation Authority and from staff that they would like time in order to review the geotechnical study that we had previously adjourned to prepare. The study is going to be issued today or tomorrow, and so obviously not adequate to review in advance of this. That being said, given that when you adjourn sine die, there's a significant recirculation fee, and given that the report is in spirits done, I would request that we adjourn to an agenda item either next in 2 weeks or if the committee requires it in 4. Thanks.
I'd like to ask the planning staff if they have any comments about the adjournment request not being sine die.
I would be at committee's discretion. I will just note that planning staff were just circulated today for the next batch of hearings on the 21st and 22nd. So our comfortability with being able to review, like we would need that report politely by the end of the day, so I can ensure that engineering staff can review that along with all the other files that they're reviewing. So I'll leave it at committee's discretion, whether that's next hearing or May hearing. Additionally, on top of receiving that report, because this application was deemed complete after March 11th, staff did review a revised plan that has to comply with the 2026 zoning bylaws. So that new site plan needs to also be filed with committee. So that's basically, we need 2 items to be recirculated with, but I'll leave committee's discretion on when when it should be adjourned to a date.
Recirculate only within the department, not outside the department.
Yeah, exactly. We just need that, well, site plan needs to be definitely filed with CFA because there were some changes with the parking lot, but also we need to be able to review that report too.
Okay. I'd like to ask if there's any members of the public that have any concerns or would like to
Sorry,
express their.
Mr. Chair, before we go to the public, could we hear from the RVCA as it was their adjournment request?
Yes. And can I ask the RVCA, Mr. Bowen?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So similar to the city, we'll need time to review the geotechnical report. I will just note our standard review timeline for a technical report is typically 30 days.
Okay. So with that information panel, do we have, if the public, I'm not going to ask now, if the public has any questions about the adjournment request, come on down and.
Good afternoon,
Good
Lori
afternoon.
Janine. I'm a resident of Barsona Place.
Okay.
I reside immediately behind the proposed development.
Okay.
I'm one of the individuals who did a request an adjournment today because we were interested in seeing the results of the soil examination. And we're quite concerned when we saw a notice that said that the tests were completed in February. We actually, myself and another neighbor, we actually spoke to the engineer conducting perhaps an engineer, a worker conducting the testing on March 11th. And we also pointed out that we did not feel that they were doing the testing in the area where we have continued to state there is a creek that runs along the rear of our homes, and many of our neighbor residents are here today who can attest to that. The other reason I've requested the adjournment, I wrote to Elizabeth at the city, who was kind enough to reply to me. I know you're very busy, appreciate that, and requested that she pull the original documents for the development of Barsona Place, formerly Arthur Street before amalgamation, and Pascal Place. A number of us residents are quite certain we were all told when we purchased our homes that there is an easement at the rear. So in addition to the soils testing, and we may want to do our own soil testing, we want to verify the boundaries of our property.
Okay.
There's other concerns, but I understand that's not for today's hearing.
That's right. Today we're just talking
So
about
30 days at a minimum, and we would like to see those reports as well, so that if we choose to, we can also have an independent engineer go to the sites where we have concerns and do testing as well.
Okay. Ms. King, is this something that the public gets to see those reports?
Like, do you mean the
The
original?
geotechnical reports that we're looking from the applicant?
I might need to defer to Mr. Ireland on whether or not that's public information. Like generally, all Planning Act applications are public information, but if someone's doing a independent study on their property, I'm not entirely sure. Like for the members of the public, their plan of subdivision documents, like that's readily available information. That's what I'm digging up, but I might need to defer to Mr. Ireland on whether or not the geotechnical study could be provided to the public.
I'm quite certain it's all atypicable. I just don't want to have to go through an ATIP process.
I'm just trying to give you a path.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ireland, do you have any comments?
Yes, I think as an application document, the report you're referring to would be publicly available.
Okay, great. There, so you've got your answer. about that.
Yes, thank you. One final comment, now that I know Mr. Ireland, the other comment that we have, the residents of Barcelona, Pascal, Belcourt, that we have all made is that there's something inherently flawed with this process in that you look at each individual proposal, and we feel that there's a cumulative effect that needs to be assessed in terms of the effects on our neighborhood. There's not only the proposal for development on Belcourt, there's a proposal for development on Barcelona, and there's a proposal for development on Notre Dame, all within a very small hub school zone. It's all in my comments. I request that the city give consideration to that cumulative effect.
Okay, so if we were to look at an adjournment, I think that we've heard that there's at least 30 days that planning staff needs to have. Pardon me? RVCA needs to have minimum. So I think it would probably be wise to go probably 2 months less a day if we were going to consider to have it adjourned for in the next 60 days. So I'd like to ask the panel first, and then I will ask them if they would like to adjourn at sine die. All those in favor of adjourning?
We get a date? Yes. So, Mr. Chair, sorry, Mr. Chair, you'd be looking at May 19th or June 2nd? Committee staff would be hesitant with the June 2nd.
Okay, so May 19th is the next opportunity for this, provided the report is provided to the technical agencies. So I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to adjourn it.
Mr. Chair, may I ask?
Sure.
So Planner King had mentioned something that this will now be considered also under the new zoning bylaw. Is this compliant with the new zoning bylaw? So it's still only a severance?
No, so because this application still has not been heard by C of A, when the application was adjourned sine die previously from the February hearing, when they came back again, it was deemed complete on March 16th. Anything deemed complete after March 11th has to comply with both zoning bylaws right now with the most restrictive provisions applying. In this case, during my review, I had flagged a provision with the parking lot landscaping provisions. So they had a minor deficiency, which the applicant did address. We just need that updated site plan. So we're in a bit of a crazy time process reviewing both zoning bylaws, but
But it's not going to result in a variance being required?
no, if
Oh,
anything, they
that's all.
addressed the deficiency to avoid a variance.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Chair.
Okay, so again, May 17th, 19th.
May 19th.
May 19th. So I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to adjourn this application to May 19th. All those in favor? The application is adjourned to May 19th, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. See you in May.
Thank you, everybody, for your input. All right, now moving on to the next item up for adjournment is item number 11 at 89 Amberwood. Is Mario Poulain available?
He's online, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Good
Mr.
afternoon,
Poulain, are you available?
panelists. Yes, how are you?
Good. So are you aware that there's a request for an adjournment on your application?
Yes, yeah, we were made aware last week and we are in favor of that to make sure the city gets the revised documents in time.
Okay, so I understand that there's an additional variance required.
Correct.
Okay, so that's going to require recirculation, sir.
Yeah,
Okay. So in order for us to proceed, then we'll proceed to adjourn the application sine die, so you have the opportunity to recirculate to those that need to be recirculated to.
okay.
Okay. Planning staff, are you in agreement with that?
In agreement, if you guys have any questions, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone from the public that have any questions with respect to this application being adjourned sine die? No questions? Panel, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to adjourn this application sine die, please raise your hands if you agree. Yep, the application is being adjourned sine die. Thank you very much, Mr. Blaine.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have we haven't done the unopposed yet, so we need to do the unopposed, those applications that are unopposed today. We have several. And in order to be on the unopposed list, the application must qualify as follows. There are no objections or concerns from the parties, that is the applicant, city, or the public. There are no amendments required. There's no registered speakers. The signed posting declaration has been received. An applicant or agent has confirmed that they agree with all requested conditions, if any. And there are no questions from panelists. First item on our unopposed list is 243 Station Boulevard. Panel, I'd like to ask you, I'd like to ask the public if there are any questions or comments or concerns with respect to the approval of this application. Okay, come on up. So before you do, I think I'd like to ask the applicant to go ahead and make their presentation so that we're aware of what they're doing. So is the applicant here? I'm looking for.
Chair, doesn't
Sorry.
move this to the.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Regular agenda.
move it to the regular agenda.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you for your comments. I'm gonna have to wait until we get to the next step, which is, because I have a couple more things that I have to do. So can I ask you just to please join the, thanks, Jay. Next item is item 3, 65 Gemini Way, 1 Center Point Drive. And I'd like to ask the public if you've got any questions or comments about this application being approved today. No one from the public. So I'd like to ask the panel if they would approve this application as unopposed. All those in favor? There we go. Next item is item 4, 85 Gemini Way, 1 Center Point Drive. And this, I'd like to ask the panel, the public, if they have any questions about this application. Panel, do you approve this application as being unopposed? All those in favor? Application is unopposed. Next item is item 5770 Broadview. Again, anyone from the public interested in making a comment on this application? Panel, would you like to approve this application as unopposed? Application is unopposed and it's approved. The next item is item 6, having to do with 1929 Queensdale.
Chair, could planning staff step down 1929 Queensdale on behalf of forestry staff?
Step it down or adjourn it?
Step it down to be heard. We just have a slight amendment we would like to
Okay,
add.
absolutely. All right. And the last item that we have as it being unopposed is item 12, 2851 Baycrest. Anyone from the public have any questions about this application? Like to ask panel for approval of this unopposed application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Application is unopposed. Now we'll move on to items in line, just to inform the public and those that are waiting to have their application heard. Item number 2 will be the last item we'll be hearing today. And that's because there are 2 panel members that have conflicts of interest. So item number 1 is the application we're going to hear first. I'd like to have Syed Ahmed and Michelle Barbeau. If they're in the room, please come down and make a presentation on their application. Or are they online? Or remote? Yes, they are. So, Mr. Ahmed, are you available? I see Mr. Barbeau.
Yeah, good afternoon to the committee, and thank you for handling my application. Actually, all the design has been done by the contractor, and I'm available for questions. Although I don't think I'm qualified to answer questions regarding the design or.
Okay, do you have, or is Mr. Ahmed available to make a presentation today?
He was supposed to be present. He's not there. I don't know why.
Okay. Do you want to have us step this down for a moment and you can contact him and we'll proceed with a couple of other applications at this time?
Okay.
Okay, so we'll step this one down for a few moments and we'll deal with a couple of others. Our next item that we'll be dealing with is item number 6, 1929 Queensdale Avenue. I'm looking for Krista Libman or Tamara Belli.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Libman. We've taken this off of the unopposed list because planning staff had some amendment they would like to address with you.
Okay.
So before going into potentially your entire presentation, I'd just like to ask planning staff to make the comments they'd like to make and discuss with you at the time.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm going to pass over to Julian because it is a forestry matter, but I'll let Julian speak to that.
Thanks very much, Chair. So it's just a minor comment. We were late in providing our comments for this round, so just wanted to request a condition for a tree planting plan.
Okay.
Do you want to?
You should probably go into the reasons why.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So there's just one protected tree to be removed. It's mostly related to the condition, but we still request the tree planting plan as a precaution.
Did you get that, Ms. Libman?
I did. I just want to clarify, there's no development proposed on part 2, the severed lands at this time. So what do we need to show? I hesitate to show where a tree will go when we haven't designed the building yet.
That's
Okay.
fair. We can probably discuss that.
So then what do you want to do?
I'd like to request the condition and discuss offline how we can resolve that.
Are you okay with that, Ms. Libman? He's going to request the condition and then talk to you about it offline.
Sure, I'm okay with that, provided it's to the satisfaction of forestry and we can waive the condition if it's not, or staff can choose to waive the condition if we can't come to an agreement or it can't be straightened out.
Yeah, it may involve planting the tree on the retained parcel, but certainly we won't plant a tree where there is going to be development, and that would interfere with it. So,
Okay. I'd like to ask panel if they've got any questions with respect to this additional condition. Mr. Barrett? Ms. Wright?
No.
Okay. Ms. McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any opportunity when the building permit comes in for the new vacant parcel to address your tree concerns or request trees to be planted?
through you, Mr. Chair, no, there's not, because they would require the tree permit to remove the tree, and it's based on condition. They'll likely do that ahead of any building happening or being applied for.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Baltz, any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go right to the panel and ask them to approve this application. It was unopposed originally, but we're adding that one condition. All those in favor of approving this condition, please raise your hands. Your application is approved with that additional condition, Ms. Libman. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we're on to item number 7. Nope. Yes, item number 7 is also unopposed. This has to do with 1567 Goth. I'd like to ask anyone from the public if they've got any questions with respect to this application.
Mr. Chair, it was taken off the unopposed, number 7.
It was what?
It was taken off the unopposed. There were concerns from the neighbor.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So we'll do with. Okay, so we'll move to the last unopposed one, which is 20. Did we not do that one already? We're all done. Okay. So now we're moving on to item number 1. It's 243 Station Boulevard. And I'm looking for Syed Ahmed and Michelle Barbeau. Were you able to find your agent, sir?
The agent's online, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Ahmed, are you available?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. Yes, I am. Sorry about that. I thought the application was already listened and approved, but somehow you have a question? I can go ahead, please.
Well, the question is coming from the public, but we'd like to first of all get your presentation, if you don't mind. And then we'll go through our necessary steps to discuss.
Okay. The permit application for our sunroom we are applying for is 2 minor variances. The permit for the reduced yard setback 21.04% of the depth or 7.88 meters, whereas the bylaw minimum required for the rear setback is 30% or 11.24 meters. And also this the area for the permit for the back for the rear yard is 21.01, and the lot area are 84 square meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum rear setback 25% of the lot are 99.95 square. So it's not a major impact on the backyard when we are building our sunroom, and there should be no impact on any neighbors or in the area. So that's all I can explain about our project. Actually, it's going to be increase the value for the neighborhood once we build our sunroom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Does the panel have any questions for the applicant, Mr. Barrett? Ms. Wright?
No.
Ms. McLean? Mr. Baltz?
Just one of clarification. In the cover letter, it says that the proposal would increase the rear yard area from 99.95 meters squared to 123.13 meters squared. But I don't understand where that is coming from. Should it not say that it's decreasing it to 84?
Mr. Ahmed?
Yes, now that's exactly what the measurements I have from the drawing, saying that it would be 25% of, instead of 25, it will be 21.01, or in other words, 84 square meter instead of 99.95 meters.
Okay, so that 121 and change is just an error?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask our planner, Nick Burney, if he would have some comments to make.
Through you, Chair, staff have no concerns or comments at this time.
Okay. Now I'd like to ask the public if they have any questions or comments to make. Come on up.
Have to do with the setback to the rear property line and the area of the resulting backyard. One of the tests has to be is in your opinion, is it minor? And I guess I'd like to hear specifically related to those two things, what your reaction is or what your opinion is on whether you think it's minor or not.
When we see the pictures of the sheds, if they put a sunroom there, it's literally gonna be like 4 square feet this way, maybe 5 or 3 square foot this way. It's gonna be very low on square footage. We're not gonna see, again, we're not gonna see towards that way even more so. In the front, we can't even see if there's an ambulance or police coming. And the city has done nothing about it. In the back, this blocks our view more. There is no view. When we look, we see shed, shed, shed. There is a little area there. I'm not exaggerating. The picture clearly shows that the whole yard is full of sheds already. I've heard the so-called square meters that are going to be available. I can't see that being possible because they have very little room here for another extension of the house. The square footage is going to be much lower, and it's going to be based on the past false dimensions that they gave 25 years ago.
Perhaps I could ask planning then a question, if that's possible.
Sure.
Sure. When they calculate, or when you calculate the area of the backyard, is it net of the sheds, or the sheds pretended to not even be there?
Through you, Chair, to the member, it's the square area that is considered within the rear yard of the area, so not including the sheds.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
These sheds take up the same square footage as this whole space here. There's not much space left, very little. And there's a third shed not on the paperwork.
Okay, Mr. Bernie, just again to come back to Ms. Wright's question. So the area you're talking about in the backyard is the area that does not include the sheds. So the sheds are lifted away, they're no longer there. It's just, there's nothing there. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So, so it includes the sheds.
The sheds would be included in the rear yard area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Ms. McLean, do you have any questions for the
No.
public? No? Mr. Bolts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just follow up with planning. So is there a limit to coverage allowed for sheds in the rear, and are these compliant?
I'll have to confirm. Like if you give me 2 seconds, I can look it up, but we reviewed it when we did and it seemed to be in compliant, but give me 2 seconds.
Sure, take your time.
Can we leave some picture? We have doubles of these. Can we leave some with the city?
No, we don't have room for that. If you can PDF it.
We need to take it as evidence.
Okay.
Committee staff would prefer if you could email in the pictures. Our files are
We got them
digital.
printed and we can also email them.
If you could email them, our files are digital, so we don't have anywhere to put actual physical copies.
While we're looking for the answer to the question about the sheds, can we put up the site plan and which might help with this?
Nice little file. All the pictures are in here. And we also email them. Seeing them in real size helps a lot.
They were emailed to our staff?
No,
Based on-
I will email them
Okay,
today.
perfect. Yes, Mr. Verne.
Yeah, sorry for that. So the max accessory structures in the rear yard can be 55 square meters. And the 2 sheds there are under that 55 square meters.
Okay.
So there was no concern from staff.
Anything else, Mr. Bolts?
No, they put up the plans. Do we have can we scroll through to the site plan? There was a site plan, right? I'm just looking to see if the sheds are shown in relation to the proposed sunroom. They don't seem to be. Okay. There they are.
Supposed to be 3 sheds.
So can we confirm 2 or 3 sheds? I've heard.
Well, we can ask the
testimony that there were
applicant
3.
too. We can ask the
Yeah, yeah.
applicant as well. Mr. Bernie, do you know how many sheds there are?
Through you, Chair, on the plans that I reviewed, there was 2 sheds.
Okay, Mr.
Mis-
Syed, Syed
Mr.
Ahmed?
Barbeau has his.
Yes,
hand.
sir.
How many sheds do you have on your property?
My property?
No, no.
I have 2.
There are 2?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Barbeau says there are 2. Okay. All right, anything further, Mr. Bolts?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? I think that's all the questions we have for you, Jay and Ms. Lee. Thank you very much for your input today. You're welcome. Now I'd like to ask the panel if they have any, or any other comments they'd like to make. No? Anybody else from the public like to make some comments? Okay. Mr. Ahmed, it's your opportunity to give us the last word.
Well, I can say, like, I really appreciate listening all this. It looks like a lot of their personal issues going on for so many years. And as far as the sunroom goes, that shouldn't be no problem at all to structure for our, client. I'll be very happy if you can get that approved today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Chair, it appears that the homeowner has his hand up online.
So, Mr. Barbo, do you have a comment to make, sir?
Yes, yes, thank you. I can just confirm that every projects we have done since we've been living in this house has been done in accordance with the municipal regulations. And in particular for this new project, this is exactly why we are going through a contractor and we follow the regulation and procedure. And this is why we are going through this committee, because we do everything according to the regulations. Now, I think all the issues that have been raised by the neighbors, nothing is related to this project. And in the past, I offered them to talk many times, and I'm open to talk if they have any concern and if they want to avoid going through any complicated process. I've been always open to discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barbo. I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to reserve on this decision. All those in favor to reserve, please raise your hands. Your application will be reserved, sir, and we will give you our written decision in 10 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so our next application is item 7, 1567 Goth. I'm looking for Krista Libman again and Eric Duffy. Hello again, Ms. Libman.
Hello.
So would you like to give us a brief description of your application today?
Certainly. So the application before the committee is for consent to create one new lot. Each of the proposed lots will be developed with a long semi-detached building with secondary dwelling units or accessory units. No minor variances are required.
Thank you very much. Panel have any questions for Ms. Libman? Mr. Barrett? No, thank you. Okay, Ms. Wright?
No, I do not.
Ms. McLean?
No.
Mr. Baltz? No further questions? Okay. I would like to move on to Mr. Burney. Mr. Burney, do you have any comments to make about this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff have no comments or concerns with this application.
Okay, thank you. Panel, do you have any questions for planning staff? Mr. Barrett?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a question to staff with regards to the TIR and that it may be able to be retained with relocation of the porch and stairs. Is that still being considered?
Yes, I believe so. It is. But just for committee to know, the building that is on the application was not reviewed. It was just a consent application with the proposed building that could be there. So once they come and do the actual building, they'll have to complete that TIR for forestry.
I don't I don't see that as a condition on this application. Should it be?
We have a forestry on.
Forestry person's coming up. When you want to pass.
Yeah, thanks. So I do have a condition that's requested regarding the grading, servicing and site plans, and that includes a revised TIR based on the determination of whether or not that tree can be retained.
Is that to be the condition number 7?
I believe so. I can confirm in a second. Correct.
Can you read it into the record so Ms. Libman knows what condition 7 says?
Yeah. That the owner applicants provide grading, servicing, and site plans with the proposed elements, structures, including driveways, parking, retaining walls, projections, services, etc. Designed and located based on the least impacted protected trees and tree cover, specifically tree 6 in the TIR, as well as a revised tree information report reflecting these changes to the satisfaction of the manager of development review, all wards branch within planning, development, and building services department or their designate.
Did you get all that, Ms. Libman?
Yes, thank you. I saw the amended report.
Okay, good. Anything further, Mr. Barrett? Okay, Ms. Wright?
No, I'm good.
Ms. McLean? Mr. Baltz?
I just want to know from Ms. Libman whether she's in agreement with this condition.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up is we need to ask the public if they've got any questions or comments about this application. Anyone in-house? Anyone online? No one online? No further questions from the public. Therefore, Ms. Libman, you have the opportunity to give us the last word.
Okay, I'm satisfied with the conditions as they're imposed, so nothing further.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask panel if they would like to reserve on this application. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Your application is reserved and we will give you our written answer within 10 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So our next application is application number 8, 2640 Dawn. And I am looking for Tyler Yakachuk. Afternoon. Could you state your name, sir? You need to put your microphone.
Sorry. My name is Tyler Yakachuk, and my address is 420 O'Connor Street.
Okay. Would you like to give us a brief description of your application today?
Yeah, absolutely. If the presentation could be loaded.
Okay.
Great. Good afternoon, committee. My name is Tyler Yakachuk, representing the owners at 2640 Dawn Street with respect to the minor variance application, which I'll review with you now. Next slide, please. As a little bit of application history, this file was adjourned in January for 2 reasons. First, to refine the required variances, as well as to provide the owners the opportunity to discuss the application further with the community. The owners are looking to legalize an existing condition that was built to accommodate parking for an additional dwelling unit. Given the surrounding conditions, which we'll discuss further on preceding or future slides, the owners were mistaken in assuming that the provided condition was in fact legally permitted. The requested variances are to permit parking in a required front yard, increase the width of the driveway to 9 meters, reduce the parking space length to 3.62 meters, and increase the permitted driveway area to 59% of the front yard. Next slide, please. The subject property is located in the Lincoln Heights area and is occupied with a single detached dwelling with an additional dwelling unit. The parcel is consistent in shape and area to the properties in the broader community. As well, the property is located approximately 1,000 meters from the closest LRT station. Next slide, please. Here we can see the additional parking area provided in the front of the house, delineated from the side parking condition with interlocking paving in a lighter gray color. The image on the right also identifies the neighboring property, providing a similar parking condition, which includes parking in a required front yard. Next slide, please. Turning to the 4 tests. With regards to the proposal's compliance with the intent of the official plan, the subject property is located within the inner urban transect and designated neighborhood. Policy 6.314 speaks to the desire for neighborhood properties to provide compatible uses with the surrounding area. Further, policy 6.322 speaks to the desire for development to remain consistent with the local context and character of the area. As well, the parking provides an appropriate interface with the public realm by providing parking in an attractive capacity that will ensure orderly parking on the property. And finally, given the subject property is not close to rapid transit, policy would suggest that accessory uses such as parking are appropriate. Next slide, please. Here you can see a variety of front yard parking conditions in the surrounding area. Given the frequency of the condition, it is our understanding that it would be acceptable to consider that front yard parking is an established form of development within the subject property's surrounding area, whether or not that has been legally established. Next slide, please. With regards to the proposal's maintenance of the intent of the zoning bylaw, the subject property is zoned R2F. The purpose of the zone is to regulate development in a manner that is compatible with existing land use patterns so that the residential character of the neighborhood can be maintained. As identified on the previous slide, the proposal looks to continue to provide a use that is compatible with the existing pattern and character of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. The legalization of the existing condition of the subject property is both desirable and appropriate as it provides an attractive formalized parking condition. That condition is well maintained and allows for the orderly use of the area for parking. Relative to other properties in the surrounding area, the parking condition at 2640 Dawn provides an attractive interface with the public realm. Next slide. Finally, the proposal is minor in nature, given that the building on site is zoning compliant. No further site alteration is contemplated. It is consistent with the character of the surrounding area and does not limit development on abutting properties. Additionally, I will note that right-of-way management staff have identified that they have no concerns with the reduction in parking length as a result of the extended parking lot. As well, forestry has said that they have no concerns with respect to the soft landscaping area, granted that there is area to provide a large tree in the soft landscaping area. Again, as you can see on the slide, all properties in orange provide a front yard parking condition. Consequently, it would be safe to understand the area as characterized by that front yard parking condition. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the proposal maintains the intent of the official plan by providing parking in the neighborhood designation that takes into consideration the local context and build form of the surrounding area. The proposal meets the intent of the zoning bylaw as the proposal is compatible with the existing land use pattern with respect to build form and exterior area and is compatible with the existing residential character. The proposal represents appropriate development as it helps with the functionality of a new additional dwelling unit and provides an attractive interface to the public realm. And the proposal is minor in nature as it does not inhibit the existing development from meeting all other zoning provisions, nor does it impact abutting properties, nor limit future development on those adjacent properties. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So I've got a question about one of the slides that you just had up. So could we just go 3 back to where there was a picture of two different residences with parking in front? It's the third last slide. It's titled, "Is Proposal Minor?" Next one. There you go, that one. So it's the one on the right. If you can make that biggest, there you go. So the property on the left, what's the address of the property on the left?
The left is the subject property, 2640 Don Street.
Okay. And those planters, are they permanent or are they movable?
No, that is movable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So the next, I'd like to move on to Ms. McLean, see if she's got some questions for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for some clarification, how many units are in the building?
There is the primary or principal dwelling and then one additional.
So two units?
That's correct.
How many cars are being parked there now then? Because you seem to have a fairly long driveway at the side of the building.
Indeed. I am not sure. I know that there are two people who the property belongs to, I would anticipate they most likely have two vehicles.
So
So one each.
are you proposing sort of three parking spaces?
Yes.
Including the front yard?
Yes, including the front yard.
And is that a garage? Is that a garage at the back of the driveway there?
I believe the owners characterize it as a shed. It's
Shed.
not for a car, but for, we'll say other items.
Okay, and I guess my last question is there a parking requirement under the bylaw for the 2 units?
For the 2 units, yes. However, there are no parking requirements for an additional dwelling unit.
Thank you.
Mr. Balls, do you have any questions then for the applicant?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So the variance C, your slide, one of the ones at the beginning showed the request for 3.62 meters as the length of the parking. In January, it was 5.15. It was amended to 4.25, which is circulated here. Is it 4.25 or 3.62?
At the request of planning staff, it was amended to 3.62 to take in, if you wouldn't mind putting up the second slide in the presentation, just to clarify. So at the request of building code services, they require that there is a 0.9 meter distance between the building and where your parking space starts. However, that would be the 4.2 number. However, at planning staff's request, they thought it more appropriate to reduce that further to avoid the prospect of including any of that area identified as a concrete pad.
And was that circulated? 3.62, or is it circulated as 4.25?
I would have to, you would have to ask planning staff as to what number was circulated.
What was circulated? 5.15, 4.25, or 3.62?
Please just let me pull up the notice for 1 second, please. I can provide further clarification on that, but if you want to, I don't know if you want to finish your questions with the applicant and then I will provide that in my spiel, but maybe in the meantime, I'll pull up the notice, but I'll let you continue answering the applicant questions.
Do you have anything further, Mr. Balls? Just wait for that.
Mr. Chair, committee staff can confirm that the notice was circulated at 4.25 meters.
So if the variance is actually 3.62, which is smaller, our practice would be to require a recirculation, correct?
That is correct. We'll just, one more person, I'd like you to confirm it to Ms. King.
Looking at the notice, it does say 4.25.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anything further? We'll keep on going down the line and then come
Yeah,
back.
yeah, certainly. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you,
If you,
Mr. Chair.
through you, Chair, if you don't mind, an additional point just to that item, not to the variance itself, but sorry, in addition to 3.62 meters, the distance between that concrete pad and the road functionally is 9.65 meters. So practically speaking, just for your clarification, the actual area off of the public road that is provided for parking is 9.65 meters.
Does that make your variance okay?
Sorry, what do you mean by
So
okay?
when you change a variance to being something more onerous, then it requires recirculation. So your comment about the length of the parking spot, does it make your variance compliant with not having to be recirculated?
Oh, sorry, I was not trying to reference whether or not it needed to be recirculated. I was just trying to further articulate that space in particular, given that a question was pertaining to the dimensions of that space. I'm sorry for any confusion.
Okay. Ms. Wright, do you have any questions?
I guess I'd just like to hear for the record that the intent is to reinstate the curb to the original width of the driveway, not the 9 meters that
Sure.
currently.
So I would note in the staff report that right-of-way management does say that if we are successful in getting a minor variance, they would have no problem providing the permissions to keep the curb cut as it is. However, in discussions with the owners of the property, they have said that they will reinstate the curb to its original condition.
Okay, so it will be reinstated.
That's correct.
Okay. And you mentioned also that the planter is movable. Is the intent to keep the planter there or to move it and have a third or fourth car there?
I believe the planter was purely of an aesthetic quality, just sort of an ornamental piece, and that it was not designed strictly to prohibit parking, but given the circumstance, they were just placing it there, given that they didn't feel that it was appropriate to park in that area. However, if we were to be successful, that planter would not be present on that exact site.
Sorry, it would not be.
It would not be
Not
present.
be, okay. And then I heard earlier with respect to the amount of parking required that the intent was to have 2 cars in front. Did
No,
I hear
sorry.
that?
Sorry, when you say 2 cars in front, as in 2 cars in front of the house?
In the driveway.
So within the front yard parking condition, there would be 1 car. On the side yard parking condition, there would be 2 cars.
Okay, I guess I just wonder why you need. I mean, I guess if it's a 3-car wide driveway, you need 9 meters, but just, yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Barrett, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, great. Now I'd like to move on to,
Chair, could
yeah.
you just confirm if variance C needs to be amended? Because if it does, it would require recirculation.
Okay, well, I'd like to ask then, planning, does it need recirculation? Is it changing the variance materially?
So just to provide just some general information, so this was submitted prior to March 11th, so it is subject to the most restrictive bylaw, that being the 2008 zoning bylaw. That's why the variances haven't changed that much. So planning staff did provide the comment that the parking space is technically 3.62 meters. The 4.5 is coming from a building code comment, not necessarily a zoning comment. Staff weren't really communicated with before this was circulated, so if the committee deems it to be recirculated, staff would be okay with that. My only additional comment would be, I mentioned this in the staff report, the new zoning bylaw does allow a parking space to encroach outside of the property boundary as long as that parking space is 1.5 meters from the roadway. But if we are dealing with the most restrictive bylaw, unfortunately, that may require further circulation to amend it under that case, despite what the new zoning bylaw direction is going in. Hopefully that gives you something to consider.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next step is to ask the public if they've got any comments to make. And we have 2 residents that I'm not sure whether they're in-house or remote. One is Gina Contongianasis and Maria Giannakos. Hi. Do you want to go ahead of Contongianasis?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can we just go back 1 step before we go to the public? I just want to clarify if we're amending that variance and if it requires recirculation.
I think we'll use that potentially during our deliberations if we.
No, it has to be made on the, decision has to be made on the floor that the application has to be adjourned sine die for recirculation.
Okay.
Can't be made in deliberations.
All right, so then.
Excuse me, Chair,
Yes.
if I may. We would be willing to accept the variance as provided in the circulation, should that give us the opportunity to get a decision today.
That's something that planning would be agreeable to.
Sure. I mean, we've reviewed the application. I don't think it's really going to change planning comments further. The only reason why we did suggest 3.36, whatever, the 3.62, there is a small concrete pad. So technically a car could come all the way up. It might, for example, the front, I don't know, parts of the car, I'm just a planner. But if the hood of the car would essentially overhang, that would be at the applicant's risk if the parking space has to overhang onto that concrete curb. I mean, I'll leave it at the committee's discretion. So that would be really the only consequence if we keep it at the 4.5 and not the 3.6.
Okay. So I'd like to ask the panel then if they would will allow it to remain, the variance remain at 4.5. So it would.
4.25, Mr. Chair.
4.25. No.
I'm still confused by this constantly changing variance. Is it the planning department's position that the technical variance is 3.62 meters, and that's what needs to be varied in the variance?
So under the 2008 zoning bylaw, the minimum depth of a parking space is 5.2 meters. Technically, ignoring the concrete pad, it's 3.62. The reason why I believe on the notice, it says 4.25. Please correct me if I'm wrong with the next decimal point. The 4 point whatever is the 5.5 minus the 0.9 to meet the Ontario Building Code comment.
But there is a raised pad that
It's-
would be part of that parking space, and that a raised portion cannot be included in a parking space, has to be flat?
I mean, there's nothing that says a parking space has to be flat. It would stop the wheel from going up and over that curb. Like I said, it wouldn't necessarily inhibit the parking space. It's very complex. I apologize. It takes us a bit to wrap it around.
More confused.
So why are we even considering something that is on part of the Ontario Building Code when all we really care about is the zoning bylaw and the provincial policy statement, whether it's minor and if it's good development? So why are we considering anything on the Ontario Building Code?
Building code services are circulated. The only reason why building code services commented is because that parking space is in front of a door, which is an egress door.
Right.
For the unit. So that's the only reason why the building code services department commented. I only commented based on the parking space depth.
Okay.
It was up to the applicant to submit and determine what they feel is the appropriate parking space size.
Okay. So what we're considering now is the minor variance is to be for 4.2. Madam, 4.5.
4.25.
4.25. That's the variance we're trying to consider today. And it does not include the concern that the Ontario Building Code has.
It would address building code services comment. The only reason why I would be, if planning staff are okay with proceeding, would be with the new direction that the zoning bylaw is going in, that it would allow it to further overhang. So the part that has not been accounted in between the 3.6 and the 4.25, it would just mean the vehicle's likely going to overhang onto the city-owned property. But with the direction that the new zoning bylaw is going under, it would be, I guess, covered in that way.
Okay. So I'd like to propose that the minor variance be at 4.25. All those in favor, please raise your hands.
Wait, in favor of what?
In favor of 4.25 being the variance that we're looking at.
Well, it is already, Mr. Chair, because it's what was circulated, so.
Exactly. So but Madam Secretary Treasurer was looking for us to either decide for a recirculation. I'm saying we don't need to recirculate as a result.
Okay, I'm not sure we need a vote, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So there we go. So it's at 4.25. Okay, so now moving on to the public. So who would like to go first?
I will.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Just before I start, my sister was also supposed to speak today, but she is ill at the last moment. So after my presentation, I'll read hers.
Okay, it's not supposed to be that way, but we'll let it go.
Oh. So my name is Maria Giannakos. There are several areas of concern I would like to address, explaining the reason for my opposition to this minor variance application. First, I would like to thank the committee for the opportunity to speak today. While my statement will be in the first person, please note that I speak on behalf of myself, my mother, and several other property owners living in the area who are not able to attend today. As I respect the time is limited, I will not go into detail about the 4 tests, except to state that I fully support and agree with the city staff who are not satisfied that the requested minor variance meet these 4 tests. I also fully agree with the applicants that front yard parking has been normalized for numerous decades in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood on our street, including the subject property, as well as the greater area of Bay Ward. What I take issue with is the characterization that the current situation at said property has been in existence for a long time when in fact it has not. This current look has only been in existence since last summer when Mr. Guerra himself removed a portion of the asphalt directly in front of the main entrance, replacing it with a concrete pad at the entrance and interlock in the driveway portion. He also removed vegetation from the front of the property, replacing it all with hardscape area, and removed, all grass in order to install the interlock, and then planted new grass in the significantly reduced size of softscape area. It was also at this time that the driveway approach was widened and the curb was cut down. It is my belief that the wording in this application has been purposely chosen very carefully to mislead the committee into thinking the current front yard in question is the original look that had been normalized. This current application states a single detached dwelling and associated secondary dwelling unit located on the subgrade floor of the building. The application that was submitted in January stated that the owners were in the process of constructing an additional unit for a total of 3 units at 2640 Don Street. It is, however, my understanding that the third unit mentioned had actually been completed for quite some time before January's committee meeting. It is my opinion that in their attempt to circumvent the correct process, the specific wording in these applications was chosen carefully to retroactively approve work that has already been completed. It is also my opinion that much thought, preparation, and careful planning had been given to reach this outcome. Gas meters have been moved away from the proposed parking location. A basement window has been enlarged to proper egress in that unit. Immediately after January's committee meeting, Mr. Guerra had told us that his decision to complete the work on his property before applying for a variance was with the hope that the city would be more inclined to approve his request, given he had already spent substantial amount of time and money altering the front yard. When several of us met with the Guerras at their property on February 22nd, they also admitted that their intention was always to have a parking space for each of their 3 units. So to read that the owner claimed an error of ignorance in this reasoning behind completing the work before applying for a permit is extremely offensive to me. I can appreciate that in a perfect world, it would be ideal to have an easily accessible parking spot for each unit. Having said that, it is my understanding that the city is in favor of increasing density, but not at the expense of increased parking, and especially not when transit is less than 200 meters from the subject dwelling. Excuse me. This is evidenced by news reports as recently as last month when where a proposed new building in Orleans, which is close to transit, would have 1,500 residential units and only 136 visitor vehicular parking spots, with no vehicular parking spots for residents. It does, however, propose 735 bicycle parking spaces. While the Guerras have emphatically promised to restore the curb, regardless of the application outcome, if the variance is approved, there is nothing legally binding them to their promise. Variance approval would also permit any future changes to front yard parking, providing they simply apply for a permit with no need for future consultation or notification. These observations and conversations with the Guerras are why I am extremely skeptical that they would, in fact, at an additional cost to them, ever restore the curb unless mandated to do so. It is my opinion, based on the Guerras' own words, that their objective from the beginning was to alter their property solely for their benefit without any concern for the neighborhood, essentially choosing to ask for forgiveness after the fact rather than to ask for permission beforehand. Thank you again for allowing me to address these issues.
So now when you're going to be reading your sisters, can you make sure that it's new information, not repetitive?
I'm pretty sure we tried to be, yeah, I have read it through once.
Okay.
It was all very last minute, so I'm hoping that it's pretty short anyway. Thank you. So as I said, I'm reading for my sister. Good afternoon, and thank you to the committee and city staff for the opportunity to speak today.
My name is Kathy Giannakos, and I am one of the owners at 2632 Don Street, located only a few doors from the applicant's property. My family has lived in this home for more than 50 years. It has been a multi-generational residence since my parents purchased it in 1971, and my mother and sister continue to live there today. I fully support and echo the concerns raised by the Planning, Development, and Building Services Department. City staff have clearly stated that they are not satisfied that the requested minor variance meet the 4 tests. In the interest of time, I will not repeat their analysis, but will instead focus on neighborhood impacts. The applicant suggests that front yard parking is normalized on Don Street. While most homes do have long-standing front yard parking, the key point is that these arrangements have existed for decades. For example, my mother recalls this being the case when the property was purchased over 50 years ago. Even the applicant's own property had limited front yard parking prior to their extensive front yard reconstruction last year. Importantly, most homes with front yard parking do not occupy such a large portion of the front yard. One example the applicant provided, 2636 Don Street, which directly abuts our property, shows vehicles parked in front of the house, but still using the original driveway to access those spaces. A tree remains in front of that home, and the driveway approach was not widened. This is materially different from the significant expansion undertaken at 2640 Don Street. City staff correctly note that widening a driveway reduces opportunities for soft landscaping. Any soft landscaping that previously existed at the applicant's property was removed when the lawn was torn up last year to install the enlarged parking pad. Because this work was completed prior to approval, it is unclear whether any grading or drainage assessments were conducted. Permeable grass was removed and replaced with interlock, which may create drainage issues. As neighbors, we are concerned about the long-term impacts of these changes on the street and the broader neighborhood. This application effectively seeks to legitimize work that was already completed without demonstrating that proper assessments were done. With respect to planting forestry, the city encourages the applicant to plant a large growing tree within the right-of-way to replace one removed several years ago. However, even the city notes uncertainty about whether the existing conditions provide sufficient soil volume, only that it appears they might. This uncertainty is concerning given the scale of the hardscaping already installed. I am also concerned that some of the letters of support appear to come from tenants rather than property owners. While tenants are valued members of the community, they are not the long-term stewards of the properties affected by permanent variances. I respectfully ask the committee to consider this distinction when weighing community input. Thank you for your time. For all of those reasons, I respectfully request that the committee reject this application. Thank you. I thank you all.
Now, Gina Contogianis.
Chair, thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Excuse me, but could you get a little closer to the?
I'll take that away from you. Sorry.
Thanks.
Okay.
It's all
there we
about
go.
you, Gina.
Thank you, Chair and Committee. My name is Gina Contogianis. I'm actually one of the owners of the abutting property on the other side at 2644 Don Street. I appreciate everything Maria and Kathy have said and agree with everything that they have presented to you today. I'll try not to repeat what they've said. I'll touch on a couple of other subjects that have come to light because of this minor variance application being put forward. 2 photographs appeared earlier in figure 2. I don't know if maybe you could bring them back up and take a look at those. Our property is the one that's being referred to as similar.
This one?
No, from Mr. These ones are the new ones. I think I sent them in earlier. Yes. So this is basically how it shows today when the snow has melted. So 2640 Don Street, once that planter is gone, we'll have 3 vehicles side by side parking in that space. If we go over to the next one, which we apparently are the similarity that are being compared to. We have and always have had two vehicles side by side. The property was originally purchased in 1975. It belongs to the same family. We have not changed anything further since then, other than 23 years ago, putting the interlock down when it was permitted. It was never widened. We do have multiple vehicles. We'd love to go 3 across, but have never thought of doing so. What we discovered was once 2640 Don Street increased their laneway, people started parking in front of their home, and the people that are now parking there believe that planter is a spot of their laneway. So they back up until they are actually in our laneway, causing difficulty to get out of our laneway. So they're blocking our laneway. I have sent in examples of that. It's happened multiple times. We did ask the property owners next door. We expressed our concerns about that. They told us there was really nothing they could do. We should call the city. I said it would be a waste of resources to continue to do so. But we did call the city one day just to see how long it would take to solve an issue such as someone blocking your laneway. It took half an hour to report it, 3 hours for someone to come and take a look at it. They put a ticket on it, couldn't move it. And what happens in our area is that there's multiple buildings in the area. So people that don't wish to pay for parking at those apartment buildings will come and park on our street. They will leave their cars for multiple days. They won't come back to check on them. So if someone's blocking your laneway, it's going to be there for a number of days. So whether I call the city and ask them to come and look at it, really, what am I doing? They're just ticketing vehicles, which is revenue for the city, but it's not solving the issues that we're having. And I know the report says that that their minor variance would not impact any of the other properties, but it does. It clearly does. I guess now we've discovered it since they've put this in, they've widened this and people assume that it's all their parking. There isn't enough space in front of the home to park a pickup truck or a larger vehicle. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the other photos that reflected people blocking the laneway. So that's become a huge problem. Another thing we thought about was the tenants that presently live there. On the first floor, the tenants have 2 vehicles. The top floor, the tenant has 1 vehicle. I don't know how many vehicles the tenants in the basement would have. So there would never be enough parking for them to park all their vehicles in the laneway. So then we would have people parking once again in front of the house and once again blocking our laneway. So this will be an impact that will go on forever. It's not going away. We're going to have this issue continuously. And we've lived in this home since 1975. And we really don't wish to deal with that. And it is a generational home. Our children are inheriting that home. And there's 3 of them. So I assume they're going to hold on to that home for quite some time. So really, that's a major concern that I had. There is a bus stop down the street from us. So, I mean, it could have been rented without additional parking. Aesthetically, it's beautiful. But that being said, that isn't everything. That shouldn't be the reason that the minor variance is passed. I think it's important that the rest of the properties should be taken into consideration, but especially ours, we're going to feel the effects of this if it is granted. And we asked from the beginning about that curb, and they did say they would put the curb back, not until we said that we found out once a minor variance is passed that they don't have to put the curb back, that they can get the permit, and that would be fine to leave it as such. That's why we can't, I feel very hesitant to accept that they're going to put the curb back. And even if they do put the curb back with the interlock being there, it's still going to look like a parking spot. So people still will not block it once that large planter is gone.
30 seconds, ma'am.
Yeah. So on that note, other than that, there's a majority of other actual property owners. I believe there were 23 letters of against this variance of the actual property owners and not tenants that live in the neighborhood. Apparently 11 of them were retracted from the original 18 that the applicants had put in. So on that note, I would just like to say that at 2644 Don Street, we are opposed to this variance being passed, and we would very much appreciate if you don't pass it. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So we may have some questions for both of you, so we'll just ask Mr. Baltz first.
So the issue is that there is not a sufficiently long street parking space in front of that property unless the curb is reinstated. Is that the issue?
Not any longer. I believe there should be pictures on file of what it looks like.
We have.
Okay, so I parked my minivan in front of 2640 one day to show how much the space is with my size vehicle. And then I parked it in front of our laneway, in front of our property to show how wide the space is. I would, where we're being compared to a similar, I believe our front yard is probably about 60, our parking is probably about 35 to less than 40% of what our whole front yard is. So theirs is substantially shrunken.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. McLean, do you have any questions?
No.
Ms. Wright?
Yeah. I missed Maria's address,
2632.
2632
Yeah.
Dawn.
2632 Don Street, correct.
Okay.
We are 2 houses away from the subject property.
Okay, so I noted that really you, your sister, and Gina are really the only comments that we got back with respect from Dawn Street.
No, you should have received also I mean, I know for certain, I believe there are other people that have sent in their.
There's
submissions.
multiples.
But
okay,
there was also from the other property owner, sorry, Gina, the other property owner at 2632 Don Street, Elise Hallowett, who has submitted quite lengthy
okay,
opposition.
okay. It might have been actually in the previous application when.
There were actually 2 in the previous application as
okay.
well. They both could not make it today
Okay.
as well. But there were from 2 other neighbors, along with the neighbors that signed that were against this minor variance. So there should be on file all the letters from all the neighbors actually that were a part of it.
Okay, thanks very much.
Sorry, just to clarify, I believe that the opposition letter from Elise Hallowett was sent in recently, like not.
Yep, I got it all.
Okay, very good.
Sorry, I do have that one. Anyway, okay, thank you.
Barrett, do you have any questions?
Sorry, do you mind if I mention one other thing? I know what was implied is that we are trying to make more available, affordable units in Ottawa, which is great. But at a certain point, our area was designated as duplexes or like across the street, they're side by side, and on our side, they're duplexes. At a certain point, when is it enough that these duplexes become triplexes? Like the other examples that were shown of people parking on their front on their front lawns, on the grass, that are not so pretty, is because these homes have become illegal triplexes, and so many people have just swarmed into them, and a lot of them change over every 6 months. So between the buildings, the additional units on the street, like when is enough?
I don't think we have answers.
No, but if we keep allowing it, then I'll never be able to get out of my laneway at this rate.
The province passed a law
No.
recently that
No, I know.
permits 3 units in every unit. So it is permitted as of right to have triplexes, 3 units in each of these dwellings.
And extending and getting rid of the front lawn to accommodate.
That's a different issue, but the number of units is permitted.
Right, and excuse me, in fairness, I mean, we're completely aware of the fact that things have changed over the last 50 years. When these houses were built, even if they did, pave or interlock or whatever, the spot in the front and the longer side of the driveway, people didn't have as many vehicles back then. So I can see where it wasn't an issue. Today, sometimes, as Gina mentioned, you can have 2 people living in one unit, regardless of the size of the unit, and each of them would have a vehicle. So in a triplex, you're looking at potentially 6 vehicles. there are plenty of neighbors in our neighborhood who are in similar situations that they park on the street, or they alternate parking, one will park in the driveway, the other will park on the street, they'll share. Sometimes accommodations do need to be made, but this particular variance, I think, as Gina was saying, will open up a huge can of worms, because once it's approved, the entire front lawn could technically become a parking lot. It's unfortunate.
And if a tree was to be planted on what's left, a large tree, so it would be overhanging onto our property then, which would then be an issue. The last trees that were there were actually taken away by that storm a few years back and just narrowly missed everybody's house and laneway, there were 3 in a row. So another large tree growing like that right over top of our home on such a smaller space, I think would be a little concerning.
If I may just bring something up that Tyler mentioned. I was pleased to hear that he mentioned that these planters that are not permanent were placed there, or was placed there if it's one planter, on purpose aesthetically. And it was to make it look as though there wasn't going to be another parking spot beside.
I think we understand, right? Because we asked the question.
I also take issue with the garage being called a shed, because the owners park their vehicle in that shed. So I don't know of many sheds. I have 2 on my property that I can't fit a vehicle into. It's a garage.
Okay.
And used as one.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input. Does the panel have any further questions? Mr. Barrett?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to hear your comment with regards to snow storage on the front of that home, just given we've had, I know, is it a problem on the street?
Snow storage. So there is a plow that plows that laneway. It either goes on the front of their lawn, or it goes over to the other side of the next lawn, or the plow individual that I have spoken with the company will plow it across the street on another individual's lawn that has on days agreed to have it there if they plow her laneway for free. So it's kind of up in the air then.
In fairness, to answer further to your question, like in most neighborhoods, there are snow companies that pretty much do the whole neighborhood. And there are several houses on that street that use this company. So those of us who do are pretty understanding that, they might throw some of the snow onto my lawn, and then the next guy gets it onto his lawn. And so that's not necessarily an issue. But in fairness, there have been times in the past where, as Gina mentioned, some people have complained to the company that, they may have been putting snow on their property and they'll come to another arrangement. But as you said, depending on how much snow we get, even on your own property, it can be, where do you put it? So taking away any space that could potentially hold snow in order to make a parking space also becomes a problem. And again, with drainage and things like that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any further comments from panelists? No? Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask the panel if they would like to reserve on this application.
Did you want to give the applicant the last word?
Probably.
The agent, the last word?
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Yakachuk.
Sure. We also, I don't think have heard from planning about their objection, have we? We've asked them questions. But did you get, no, I didn't think so.
Okay. No, well,
I would like to
before I
hear
get to you, Mr. Yakachuk, we'll listen to what planning has to say. Thank you very much, Mr. Baltz, Ms. McLean.
You want me to proceed there?
Yes.
No, all good. Yeah, so staff did review the revised submission and we still have concerns with this proposal, like especially with the driveway being 9 meters wide. It's about 58.9% of the front yard. The point of the restriction, like to limit driveways to like a double wide driveway, would be to ensure that soft landscaping space remains, maintains the character of the neighborhood. I would like to acknowledge that like the new zoning bylaw does permit front yard parking moving forward. However, it's still expected to observe the maximum driveway width, which would be 6 meters under the new zoning bylaw. So basically, in short, like we still have concerns with this proposal despite the new direction that the city's going in. I'm happy to clarify any further questions if the panel does have any. I know we did briefly discuss this further, but just let me know.
Okay. Any further questions from the panel? Ms. McLean?
Thank you. I'll ask Planner King, the required parking. So if can they park 2 cars, one behind the other in the existing driveway? Is that permitted? Just trying to, the parking layout that's allowed for the 2 units that are existing.
So just ignoring the front yard parking space for a brief moment, because the legal parking space as of right now, it's an interior yard driveway. So it's driveway leading all the way back behind the front wall of that house. So regardless as to whether or not it's a garage or not the garage, as soon as they're behind that front wall of the space, that's where their legal parking space is. But technically they could park in tandem in front. The goal, as long as you're parking in the driveway leading to your legal space, it's allowed. Front yard parking space, as soon as it's in front of the front wall, it's considered front yard parking space. Further to my point with the new zoning bylaw, like you can now slightly encroach over that front property line, but it's very limited on where your sidewalk or the roadway is, and that's to align with the traffic and parking bylaw. So some ifs, ands, and buts and caveats with that, but technically without the front yard parking space, our legal parking space is in that interior side yard.
Thank you.
Anything further? Mr. Baltz?
Clarification. So it would be variances B and D that you would have issues with? Or planning would have issues with?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. No, Mr. Yakicek, up to you to give us the last word.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. To address some of the comments that were made, I would note that primarily their concern has little to do with the variances requested and more to do with the curb cut, which they noted there was no mechanism for my client to absolutely reinstate. I would say absolutely there is a mechanism. That would be that they got a ticket from bylaw noting that they are in non-compliance with their approach bylaw. And I would then note that they are either under the obligation to apply for a permit to legalize the new encroachment or to, I guess, be denied that permit. Right of Way has noted that in the event that we are successful here in achieving all our minor variances, they would be approving of that permit. However, the client has noted that even if that were to be the case, they would look to reinstate that curb purely for the, I guess, the benefit of the broader area and provide greater parking to the community. So with respect to that primary concern as noted by the public, I do not believe that is necessarily relevant to the minor variances requested. And second, that they have told the members who are, sorry, the members of the public who spoke that they will in fact reinstate that curb whether or not they are successful here. With respect to questions from or concerns from planning staff, I would note, you don't have to bring it up, I believe you have it, but if you look at that image that I provided in the presentation as well as in the rationale that notes, I believe, 13 unit or 13 dwellings within the area, close proximity to 2640 Dawn, that the idea that we are somehow out of character by providing or looking to provide a 59% area of the front yard for parking is inaccurate, and that it is a relatively common occurrence such that there are even units that have provided zero self-landscaping. I'm not sure if they were in front of you to legalize that condition or not, but that's how it is presently. Also, with respect to the idea that we are somehow changing things in, I guess, a nefarious manner, I would say that they have conceded themselves that this is done effectively, it's done attractively, and that while there is a reduction in landscaping, forestry has said that there is, whether or not they should put in a large tree, that there is most likely sufficient volume. That area with respect to the soft landscaped area is about 200 square feet, which any arborist would suggest is sufficient to put in even a smaller boulevard tree that would perhaps not impact any other properties. So all this to say that I believe that this is within the character of the neighborhood. This is minor in nature, and that while it is not identical to the condition of next door, I use the term similar because my client is seeking a similar permission to provide front yard parking. To the degree, it may be different, but it is similar in effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, panel, are we going to reserve on this application? All those in favor, please raise your hands. We're going to reserve on this application, sir, and you will receive our written notification within 10 days.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all your help today. I think that concludes, does that conclude our work?
Item 2.
That's right. We gotta go sit in the audience now. Okay. Well, Mr. Ball said.
Oh, stuff there.
Yes, good afternoon. Just like to mention the last item on our agenda is 2120 Niagara Drive. Would David Jones, I see is here in person. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. My name is Dave Jones and my address is 193 Maple Bend Crescent.
A presentation?
Not any more than what was submitted, but we just wanted to talk about the rationale that was the city comments had come back saying that they were addressing a window that was in question on the back. And we just wanted to add that we do have neighbor support with that window in place. And those letters were submitted, as well as 2 verbal and 6 that were written and sent in before the approval date. And they just wanted to express that.
Are you referring to the glazed windows then on the top of the coach house?
Yes, the upstairs window that faces the neighboring property on the interior lot line.
Yes. So I should have mentioned this application is to permit a coach house with increased building height and a reduced interior side yard setback. So can you mention, can you brief us on any more of those?
Yes, the homeowners of this property wanted to present a coach house, mainly because their family's growing. And they just wanted to rebuild a decapulating garage that's there now that's unsafe. So they wanted to remove the garage, rebuild the garage, and at the same time add a coach house on top of it for family only. Not with the intention of renting it out. In that, we needed to add some windows. We wanted to have the windows on the 2 opposite sides for glazing, but also for airflow. And in doing that, we were size-wise, we were just a little bit over the prevented allowance. In that was agreed upon, that was okay. It was just the window that was in concern on the 2nd floor.
Does anyone on the panel have any questions of the applicant this time?
Right off the start, you said something with regards to that window, that despite the fact that planning wanted it glazed or no, you wanted it gone completely, I think. Yeah. You said you had gotten permission from the neighbors. So is it your intent to keep it?
The intent is to keep it.
Okay.
If there's a reason against it, then we can definitely take it out. Worst case scenario is we can frost it if it was a privacy concern. But the neighbors were all in favor of this proposal.
Okay. So it would be your intent, your hope anyway, is that you could keep it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the panel? No, thank you. Well, thank you. And you can sit there, and I have a question or comments from planning staff, please.
Yep, so thank you. I just wanted to note that planning staff have no concerns with the size of the coach house. We are okay with those variances. Forgive me, but I don't recall which number those are. We expressed some concerns just with the official plan because there is a very specific policy that states that the proponent can demonstrate the privacy of the adjoining properties. It interrelates with the zoning setback, saying that if you do have a window, you should be 4 meters. But because they're proposing the 1.42, that's where the variance is required. Staff would be amendable that it should the Committee of Adjustment want to grant this application. We would like you to tie to the plans, but also, forgive me, I'm just gonna get the wording, but also tie it to the glazing of the windows just to ensure that those neighbors do have protected privacy. I did discuss this with a zoning plans examiner who would review this at the building permit stage, and they would be willing to enforce that. Staff would believe that some kind of filtering on the window would be able to maintain those adjoining properties, neighbors' privacy. Understandably, those neighbors don't have concerns right now, but I wouldn't want to negatively impact future neighbors. So like I said, it is just some concerns. Alternatively, if committee does not grant that variance, it would just mean that they would not be allowed to have any windows on that side in order to be 1.2 meters from the property line.
Thank you. Just to confirm through you, the variance B to permit a reduced setback from the interior side lot of 1.28. I think you mentioned 1.42, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum setback of 4 meters. Is that correct?
Just give me one moment. I'm just going to double check the plans here.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Apologies, it is 1.28. There's a little bit of a jut out on the corner of the wall. So yes, the report should read as 1.28. No further variance is required. It's just a mistake on my part.
Thank you for the clarification. Any comments from committee members?
Zoning does not permit garages or coach houses to be greater than 1 story in height. Correct? Is that across the board zone, like coach houses 1 story?
Generally, coach houses in the urban area should be 1 story. There are height limitations depending on whether you're in the urban or rural area. I guess I don't know what the committee knows about historically with coach houses, but historically coach houses were a secondary dwelling unit. And the reason why they're called coach is because initially there was a barn, stable, an old horse and buggy used to be on the bottom, and then the caretaker, potentially a resident, used to live above in the loft. Very interesting historically in terms of an accessory dwelling unit. I generally do not foresee concerns with a 2nd-story coach house in this case because they are still parking vehicles below. The principal dwelling of the still requires to have at least 1 parking space. It's also in the same footprint of that existing garage, so they are maintaining that character. I think we would be dealing, mind you, this would be hypotheticals, but I think it's a little different if we're looking at a 2-story coach house that's being inhabited on the ground floor and the top floor. But also in this case, as of right, the house on Niagara could technically go up to 2 stories. It is only a 1-story bungalow, so just kind of keeping in mind how this property could evolve over time, how the neighborhood could evolve over time. sorry, I'm going on a bit of a spiel
keep going.
here, but
Okay.
that's basically my thoughts. I mean, coach houses are generally very interesting dwelling units in my opinion, but that's why I'm not having many concerns. My only concerns is just kind of keeping in mind those neighbors' privacy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Planner King. Is there anyone here to speak from the public on this matter, either in remotely or online? No, there's no one? Okay, thank you. Do you have any further questions? Oh, sorry. Yes, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess I had a similar question on the intent of the bylaw to restrict coach houses. So we're talking about the neighbor's privacy to the west, I guess, on Begonia, because the front yard for this property is Begonia. Am I right there?
Yes, the technical front yard is begonia. Hopefully I said that correctly. There's two windows. There's a ground floor window, but I am taking into a factor that there is a fence there. So the view would be blocked from that window, the second story window. And I'll get the applicant to correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's above a stairwell that leads you up into the loft space where I guess the potential resident would inhabit the coach house.
Okay, and then I guess in my notes here. So planning is asking for glazing of that window. The applicant prefers not to glaze. Am I right there?
We prefer to have the glazing, but we will we will add frosting if that's what we choose to do, yes.
Another question for you.
The applicant and the owners, I guess, intend to use it themselves and never rent it. That doesn't mean in 10 years, when you don't own the property, it might be rented. Is there an issue with this design, with it being rented in the future?
I don't think planning staff can really comment on, I mean, just on it being a residential dwelling unit. I mean, there's Planning Act zoning bylaw OP doesn't say whether it's the homeowner or a tenant. I think our concerns would still remain the same, just with the intent of the OP and setbacks.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? No. Thank you. You have the last word.
Okay, well, we definitely enjoyed bringing it here. We definitely would like to keep that window frosted or otherwise. The window is within a stairwell, so to see directly out that window, standing at the window, looking down on the neighbor's property it can't be done. In the stairwell, it's actually 4.5 to 5 feet above your head when you're going down the stairs. The closest portion to that window is about 6 feet away. So looking out that window, there's no real privacy with the direct neighbors, and they have expressed that. So the hope is to keep that window frosted if necessary.
Thank you. On this application, does the panel want to reserve on this application? All in favor? We're going to reserve this application. It'll be 10 days that you'll be notified.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. and
Decision. Thank
committee.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That ends our hearing today. Thank you very much for attending or listening at home, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.